Okay, second video for this afternoon. Let me catch you up with what's happened on the hole. So all of these little uprights, the poles for the hand railings on the side. So that's those little uprights for that white hand railing. Won't be white on my boat. Those have been drilled in, making very sure that the drill that I chose was almost slightly less, so that when I try and put in one of these, it almost won't go in yet. I might even have to just taper that because I want a really nice tight fit. I tested with a piece inside, so I can get it in. It's a really nice tight fit, which is what I want, and it'll be glued in because I really need that railing to provide a lot of structural rigidity to the entire railing system, the entire rail itself. I have drilled the tiny little holes for the small brass pins. That is these little brass pins that form the rear railing. And again, they must be able to go into a hole there and be quite a tight fit even without the glue. So we hope I managed to get that right. Now I've put them centrally on here, but that sort of it leaves you with varying positions of where that actually comes out, because in this case the railing is mostly on the inside of the boat. Here the railing is sort of quite overlapping as it is over there, which means these ones might actually be drilled slightly, well, I didn't go too deep, but they might actually end up into the planking. And there were one or two that ended up, there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 that end up on the outside of the boat. But that little pin is not going to go through it's not going to go through and be beside the hole. It is only going into the can't remember the name. Was that the gunwale again? So they just need to seat into there. Okay, so that is all done. And for those of you who were a bit sharp-eyed would notice that something's changed on the coloration. Now, I thought I was going to do a demo here because I thought it was going to be a lot more difficult than it was, and in fact more involved than it was, and I didn't bring that. I'll just use this as representative for that other sponge that I was using. That paint, when I thought I was going to be sort of doing this sort of effect, and that was just going to be absolute overkill. So in the end it was just putting a little bit of paint and pressing it in so that it's almost like dry brushing, dry sponging. And then just very softly taking the brown color. I did brown and a little bit of green brown. Did a bit of green on there, so you will see spots of green, and then in some places where the green and the brown mixed a bit, which is good. And it was just very soft sort of speckling or whatever you call that. And this is the result. And I gave little sort of swipes and there's quite a number of down slides, drag marks down. I dirtied up the railing, the gunwale itself. So at first, my very first thought as I was doing it is I'm hoping that it's not overkill, even with this tiny amount of speckling that I've done. And I was thinking, I should really wipe some of that off. But the longer I look at it, the more I actually like it. Even with a larger sort of mark, it sort of just gives a bit more character. You'll notice I did a fair bit here just on the waterline as well. So all in all, not much down here, because I did a little, but there's not much point. Most of it is now for the visual effect of being in the water, and marks that would be on the side of the hole. I know it's not the most finessed application of weathering. The dark brown that I did with the stain was definitely more finessed. But the watercolor which I used, or the acrylic, the low-grade acrylic watercolor, doesn't sort of lend to applying itself in the same way. That light brown, as I said, would possibly be a little bit bright, but I did need different shades, and I'm sort of happy with this. You know, at a distance, and certainly at a distance on the water, you're probably not even going to notice a single thing. At a certain distance, it looks really good, hardly noticeable, and looking up very close, you notice it. So, yeah, I mean, there is a range, there is a visual range at which it's probably perfect. Very close up, it sort of looks like, yeah, could have tried to do a slightly more blended, but whatever. That's as it is. Now, that's a low quality acrylic which rubs off the more you touch it. And in fact, if you took a wet cloth, you just wipe it all off, which is good from the point of view of while you're applying it, you can always change your mind a day later and clean it up or tone it down. But I was quite happy with it. I left it for 2 days, and I've just sprayed about an hour ago the floor acrylic coating to seal that in. So now, technically I could sand it off if I really wanted to, but it's now protected and I won't want to change my mind. I'm happy. It's a little bit, you know, you've made your boat all nice and shiny. The blue and the green looked so good, but this just looks more character boat. So that's, I'm happy with that. I have found servos. I haven't found the specific servos that I was looking for. Also found some slightly smaller ones, and there's no particular reason to not just use the large servos. I mean, unless there wasn't really enough space in the hole. But I think I've got quite a lot of the normal servo sizes, and although it's slight overkill, it doesn't, you know, this boat is would easily be handled by any size servos. There's so little force on the rudder and so little to move a throttle setting. But I'll use the ones that I have the most of. I just need to actually choose the correct set. I still need to find the correct set and test it out. But I've got the size, so I can do the cutting. These have all been test fitted for inside. I can start doing the cutout for the servos, mounting where they would be. The rudder, that's going to be a rather interesting, because I need to get it right into there, right under and inside there, and be able to use the Allen key. Luckily it is facing there, so this is not the one that came from the boat. I don't know if there was one that I've missed. I've got different ones as well, but I think this one might work. Just test the, well, let's actually just test that now to see if that hole is correct. Yeah, that's very close, so that shaft will go in there. So I'll probably use that one, even though the amount of movement till it hits hole, oh no, it's actually got enough right up there. It looks it looks tight, but there is enough space for it to actually move before it touches hole. The prop that they supply is this one, which you have to insert the 3 blades and solder it or glue it in there. I'm just rather going to use that, and I sort of suspect this prop would just have too much thrust. It looks like it's got so much angle. It's almost like more of a tugboat thing. I mean, this boat really doesn't need to go fast at all, and I'm quite sure that that prop will be perfect. So we are getting very close. I mean, I'm basically at the point where I now need to measure and do all the holes for the ladder. Although I must say, I don't know if I'm missing a plan sheet for this or something, but I can't find anything, so it's going to have to be a little bit of a estimate of where on the mast the rungs actually go and what the exact spacing is, based only on the on this picture. So there's a little bit of a top section which I need to take into account. This bottom section there, it goes through the hole in the cabin rear, and so that's sort of a fair position estimate, and how high do I take it, and so on and so on. I don't know if there were ever plans for this boat, or if it only has the build booklet, which is not the greatest by Artesania Latina. I do find in most cases the instructions are sort of average. I know they expect the builders to be a little bit more advanced. Right. Oh, I did. So with this rear railing, with that wire that goes through all of those very thin brass things and then meets up at the white railing, what I've decided to do is not take it into the wood, but to take it at an angle and straight down in. And so there's a little double hole there where I'll sort of, as that comes around there, and then it'll bend downwards and go into there, which sort of helps give that railing a little bit of rigidity independent of anything else, and will help me mount it as I'm busy putting in all the pins. So yes, a lot of things coming together. The mast tapering and the rung hole drilling being the sort of more difficult tasks remaining now. Okay, till next time.